and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we're looking at one of my favourite stamp sets, Born to Shine. It doesn't seem to be having too much love at the moment, but I absolutely love these little line drawings. And I thought we would do something a little different with it. So we're going to do some embossing. I've just taken out from the stitched rectangles a piece of Night of Navy, and then I've just cut a little frame, and that's going to go into the centre. We need our embossing buddy. Embossing buddy is just absolutely the best thing. Tap it on and it gives sort of like a powder. It's a bit like flour, corn flour, something like that, which is very fine, but it stops everything sticking. Then we need to take some Versamark ink, and we are going to ink up, let's move that out of the way, we're going to ink up the whole of this image. Now you need your Versamark to be fairly well inked, because you want the image to come out really well. So it's a sort of a sticky ink, and what it does is it gives a really good image. Now I need to have the frame on top, so I want the image to sort of go as centrally as I can. So I'm just taking it out first so I can then get it exactly where I want it, and then you literally just press it down and quite firmly, and just allow that Versamark to sink into the cardstock. So I'm just making sure that it's all around the edges that I want. And then I've got a piece of scrap paper ready, because I'm going to emboss it. So I'm just going to take that straight up from there, and then we need to put, we can take this little frame off for now because we don't want that on there. And then I'm just going to take some of our white embossing powder. Oops, let me put that in the centre. I know a lot of people have it in pots. I do have sometimes them in pots, but I don't have them always in pots. So I'm just going to shake that across the top like that. Carefully, I'm just making sure it is embossing powder and not heat and stick. Sometimes it's difficult to do, remember. And then we're just going to tap it off. And if there's any little pieces that have come on that you don't want them, you can take them off either with a paintbrush or just take them off with your fingernail or whatever. Okay, we can then take this back and just pour it back into the pot. Embossing powder lasts forever and ever and ever, because you use such a tiny amount. And as I say, you can put it straight back in there. You can put it into a pot and dish it out with a spoon. It's entirely up to you. I tend to do it this way. And then we are going to heat it. So we need to get our heat tool. Now the Stampin' Up heat tool is absolutely brilliant because it has two settings. So you've got a drying setting, so if you want to dry something quickly, and then you have a heat embossing setting. So you'll have to excuse the noise. I always leave it off for a few minutes just to warm up, because if you allow it to warm up a minute, you are then going to ensure that it starts turning the image immediately. So we just want to just put it down, and it is going to warp just a little bit, but you can see how it starts to turn the powder solid. It's one of those things that is always, I never get tired of it. It's one of those sort of magical things that you look at and you go, oh my goodness, that's happened, and that's really good. So as I say, excuse the noise, it only takes a few seconds, so make sure that it's all done, and then we can turn it off. Okay, so you can hear me now better. Now you will find that, as I say, it does sometimes warp a little bit, but if you just bend it one side to the other, you'll find that it's absolutely fine. And you can see that you've still got a little bit of powder on there. Now you can literally just sort of tap it off, and it'll start coming off, and as we start working on it you will see that the powder will sort of disappear, but you really want that on there. Okay, so now we are going to I want this to be very subtle, and we're going to do something with Whisper White craft ink, which is it takes a little while to dry, and I'm just going to put some of it onto a block. You can just wash it straight off in the sink afterwards. So we've just put a little bit on the block here, and we are going to then take our aqua painter. So it's me looking to see where I've put my aqua painter. Is it? I have a little pot here which I keep all my, or a shelf with all my little bits on, and okay, I might have to use this one. This is yes, that's the nib I wanted. There's two nibs to the pack, a fine nib and a thick nib, and I want the thick nib. And you need just a little bit of kitchen roll, and we are then going to pick up the craft ink. You don't want too much water on it, and we are literally just going to go inside the image very carefully, picking up a little bit of craft ink as we go, and just sort of paint it in to give a completely sort of silhouette image on there. By embossing it first, it means it's quite easy to go in through the lines, and you can also as you're actually painting it through, you can pick up a lot or pick up a little and get a little bit of definition in on there. But I think that the line drawing stands out itself, so I don't want to really do that. I literally just want to colour in the whole of the inside of the image in the craft ink. This works very well if you're doing it on some of the flowers, and then you can add colour in over the top if you want to, but it also works on lots of other images as well. So as I say, just keep picking up some craft ink as you go, and you'll find that as it starts to dry you can see where you need to go back over it and do a little bit more, but it gives like a really sort of pretty chalky background and just adds some definition to this beautiful image. So I'm just going to take it round here onto the dress, and you can see here where the dress is on here that I just need to add a little bit more on there. And just because you're picking it up with some water, you can just sort of define it as you go. And let's go down onto her legs. And by using your block as a palette, it means that you can pick it up quite easily. Now you can use the oh, I can't think what it's called. Where is it? This one. You can use one of these, which are the blender pens. But I find that the blender pens, particularly on certain coloured cardstock, they can pill quite easily, and also it's not as easy to wash the colour down. The aqua painter is my tool of choice. I do use it a lot because I find that it just adds that little bit of definition. So you can see as it's starting to dry, you've got this lovely sort of blue tone on it. And as I say, I'm just going to go over it again in a couple of areas. You can build it up as much as you want, or not, as the case may be. I want it so that it's fairly defined, but I don't want it so that it's completely white. So I am sort of just being aware of that. So as I'm colouring it in, but you can see it's quite easy to do because you are doing it in between the lines. So again, I'm just going to do a little bit more on the arms, down on here, just round on there. And I think that's probably it for the face and everything. I might just do a little bit, as I say, you know, fiddle around with it until you've got the amount of definition that you want. But I don't want, as I say, I don't want it to be covered completely in the white so that you can't sort of see the tones coming through underneath. There we go. I think that's probably about right. So you can then clean it off with your tissue. Just sort of keep squeezing it until it runs clear, and then just keep. Craft ink is it's a bit stickier and it's a different substance to our water-based inks. So you do need to clean it quite well, and I will go and clean it off in the kitchen sink later on. Okay, so then all we're going to do is to take that little frame and put the frame in on top of there like that. You can put a sentiment or whatever on there if you want. I'm not going to sort of show you anymore, but I thought that it would look really pretty as a base, particularly if you're using some dark cardstock. What you can then do is to take some of the little tiny sparkles here to come off from her feet. And you could do those in the white, or you could do those in silver. So you could add a different sort of dimension onto it. Again, I'm not going to show you anymore. It's just to give you the idea, to show you that you can actually build a really beautiful, and let me pick it up so you get just a little bit more definition on there. You can pick a beautiful image and just do it through in embossing powder and the craft ink, and you have this lovely image. So thank you so much for watching me. Do look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye.